So here's a concise summary of the key recommendations in the CRC committee.
Are you taking it point by point?
Yes. So on the executive and presidency.
Okay, let's go.
Number one, maintain the 2-term limit for the president.
I agree.
Sky used to say you
agree.
To extend the presidential term from 4 to 5 years.
I disagree.
Lower the minimum age for presidential candidates from 40 to 30.
Disagree.
I disagree.
Subject presidential salaries and benefits to taxation.
Agree.
I agree with it.
Limit post-office immunity and allow civil and criminal proceedings within defined periods.
Agree.
Restrict the appointment of ministers from parliament.
Agree.
Hey, cap the number of ministers and require parliamentary justification for excess appointments.
Agree.
I agree, but what I'm saying, I think we should do a smaller number, and then also this what's the word? There's a legal term for it. This discretion to increase.
Sorry?
I think we should take it away entirely.
Do something for me.
Because they will always find a reason why they need an additional minister. You can always trust presidents.
Do something for me. draw a table and then write Sky and Godfrey. So when I mention point one and they both agree, tick yes. If one says no, do X, I want to do something. I beg you. So just write do Sky and then do Godfrey. So now this is on the point one. So when I mention and they say I agree, then you say correct.
Let's go.
So this is under executive. Maintain the so listen, forgive me, I'm trying to tally this. Maintain the 2-term limit for the president.
Agree.
So correct. Good. Extend the presidential term from 4 to 5 years.
Disagree.
So they all disagree. Lower the minimum age for presidential candidates from 40 to 30.
Disagree.
Correct. Subject presidential salaries and benefits to taxation.
Agreed.
So correct. Limit post-office immunity and allow civil and criminal proceedings within defined periods.
Agreed.
Both of them agree. Restrict appointment of ministers from parliament.
Agreed.
7. Cap the number of ministers and require parliamentary justification for excess appointments.
Agreed with the caveat.
So both agree, then put an asterisk on Sky's own. So that's the caveat. Let's explain. Very good. Mandate the removal of a minister upon parliamentary censure.
Agree.
And then also clarify presidential succession and post-election transition limits.
Agree.
So at the end of the first round, out of the 9, they agree with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and disagree with 2, but they are aligned.
Yes.
So on the 9 proposals under executive and presidency, my 2 colleagues agree on 7. They disagree with the extended presidential limit to 5 years and lowering the presidential age, but they agree with everything else.
Yes.
So 7 out of 9, not bad. Let's come to parliament and representative democracy. So this version 2.
Yes.
Again, do Sky and Godfrey. Cap the size of parliament at the current level.
Agree, but I think we could have done with a fewer number.
Yes, they should even reduce
Yes.
it. I agree. So caveat for me too.
So correct with asterisk. Study and consider proportional representation to improve inclusion.
I agree.
But even that one we need
Also asterisk.
Yes, asterisk.
I'll let you do asterisk later. Strengthen internal parliamentary independence from party control.
Agree.
Fully.
Number 4. Allow dual citizens. So correct, both of them agree. Allow dual citizens by bet to contest parliamentary elections.
That one I disagree.
So Sky disagree.
Yes.
What about you?
Caveat.
So he's agree with the asterisk. So that's the first line of disagreement. Bar public officers from partisan politics without resignation and give a cooling off period.
I agree.
Both of them correct. Extend parliamentary terms to 5 years.
Disagree.
Let me finish.
Okay.
Extend parliamentary term to 5 years and align elections with presidential polls.
Disagree.
I disagree.
Of course, because disagree with the presidential 5.
Yes.
Disagree with this. Okay. So it's natural. They both disagree. Guarantee public participation in lawmaking.
Agree.
Yes.
Both of them correct. Formalize private members bill.
Agree.
Correct.
I agree. Yes.
Require timelines for subsidiary legislation.
Agree.
So at the end of the parliamentary representative democracy, the 9 proposals, they agree with 7,
Again.
disagree with 2. Okay, Sky agrees with 7, disagrees with 2. Akoto agrees with 8, disagrees with 1. And both of them have 2 caveats. So both of you are still the same mind. I'm surprised.
Yeah, cool.
Let's go to political parties and elections. Now, political parties and elections too, there are 5 points. And Apia, thank you for this summary. I like your summary. Create an independent regulator for political parties and campaigns.
Disagree.
Okay, I agree there.
So this is the first proper disagreement. So political parties. So let me read this again. I'll get to explain. Create an independent regulator for political parties and campaigns. Why do you disagree?
The EC exists. The EC is empowered to do that. It has just ignored that responsibility. So I don't see the need to create another one. Simply tell the EC to do its job properly.
Sky, why do you agree with create an independent regulator?
I
for
think
political
the
process?
EC has had an issue with is the way it's been set up, and the nature of regulation and supervising elections make it such that I think that we need to delineate. We should divide the roles, just as we're talking about corruption and all of that.
You feel like it's a new body. Okay, we can asterisk that. When I meet Prep, I'll push this. I'm going to use your. I'm producing my interview
with the
Good. Control campaign spending and election period.
I agree.
Both of them agree.
Yeah.
Mandate disclosure and audit of party finances.
Agree fully.
Agree. Like double punishment.
Yeah,
agree. Why the strong agreement?
This is pretty obvious.
Okay.
This is pretty obvious.
Mandate disclosure and audit of party finances.
Yes, because political parties are raising funds from all kinds of places that we don't even know.
Okay.
The reason we have many of the problems we have in the governance of this country is because of this issue. You heard from sources that said that certain people who are in charge of certain big offices today were given money from all kinds of sources. Some of those sources potentially came in from government purse, which ideally should be matters of prosecution.
So for you,
somehow, yeah. So
disclosure,
disclosure is very, very
point
key.
3, big agree.
And then when you use the money sent to you by people who donated on your own self, and it was not related to campaign, as happens in other countries, there should be prosecution.
Point number 4, establish a democracy fund for party development.
I understand it.
Yes, so that it limits looking for money at the wrong places.
So that is public funding.
So it sort of draws.
I disagree.
No, hold on. No, Akoto, wait. It draws from point 3. If you agree with point 3, you can't disagree with point 4.
No,
because point 4 says, you see, point 3 is saying that let's be transparent in how we finance our party.
Yes.
And to avoid the uneven playing field, let's have a basic. We know where the money is coming from for the political party, so that we reduce this.
Which comes from taxpayer?
We don't know yet. We can discuss the way it will.
So you let me disagree for now.
For now, okay. So he disagrees. So Pascal agrees. Point 4.
For now.
Now, strengthen internal party democracy.
Agree.
Say it again.
Strengthen internal party democracy.
Yes, there should be. Yes.
So at the end of round 3, political parties and elections, Sky agrees with all 5. Akoto agrees with just 3. So that's interesting. So Akoto disagrees with what do you call it? Establishing a democracy fund, and then which one did he disagree?
The EC.
An independent regulator. Yes. So it agrees with those 2. Okay. So this under political parties. Label it well. So now let's go to Electoral Commission and independent bodies. This is the 4th rubric.
Okay.
1. Reconstitute the EC to a leaner full-time structure.
I
agree.
Introduce a merit-based and transparent appointment process.
Yes, I agree. Because they are in effect, you know, the case I took to court with the GBA joint, they are in effect saying that case should be overruled by the amendments they're proposing in terms of how the EC is proposed.
So it's still that issue.
Yes.
So a merit-based transparent appointment process is too opaque.
I agree.
So agree. 3. Set a fixed non-renewable term for commissioners.
I agree.
Oh, nice. Clarify removal procedures to protect independence.
I agree.
Hey, so it's on 4/4.
Oh yeah.
So under Electoral Commission independent bodies, the 2 gentlemen are ad idem, as the people who say in Latin. Point 5, national development and public finance. 1. Anchor national development planning constitutionally.
Is it not already?
No, it allows for.
It's just directive
yes, I think.
So it's not solid.
Okay, I agree.
Align budget and legislation with the national development plan.
I agree.
3. Create an independent fiscal council.
I agree.
Agree, sort of.
I agree.
So agree with asterisks.
Yes.
4. Introduce debt ceilings and fiscal discipline rules.
I agree.
2022 in mind. 5. Rationalize tax exemptions.
I agree.
6. Strengthen oversight of state-owned enterprise through constitutional bodies.
I agree.
Hey! So at the end of round 5 on national development planning, Sky agrees to all 5. Akoto agrees with 5 with an asterisk. It means you agree with the Constitutional Review Committee.
No, we don't.
We are
Okay,
going
hold on.
very
I'm coming. I'm coming. I've done 5 rounds. And round 1, executive and presidency, you agree on 7 out of 9.
Yes.
With 1 asterisk.
Yes.
And parliament and representative democracy, you agree with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 out of 9 with 2 asterisks. And political parties and elections, you agree with 5 out of 5. He agrees with 3 out of 5. And Electoral Commission independent bodies, both of you agree 4 out of 4. And the National Development and Public Finance, both of you agree 6 out of 6. Let's come to lands and natural resources. So I'm saying that you generally agree with the people.
Yeah, okay. Generally, yeah, in principle.
Is the evidence is there?
Yeah, in principle.
Lands and natural resources. 1, clarify fiduciary management of public and stool lands.
Yes.
Correct. 2, protect reversionary rights of original landowners.
Agree.
3, ensure parliamentary ratification of natural resource agreements.
You see, I agree with that, but I have an issue. You see, the issue has to do with the idea that Parliament should be the people exercising judgment in terms of wisdom on whether a particular place should be mined or not, and by who. I think that in other democracies, especially Chile, for instance, they have had to go in some cases for a referendum
on those types of things.
Many thorny issues regarding how
land.
So you want more than Parliament.
Exactly, because
okay. So hold on.
276 people.
Gojiri,
if you have a way of getting around,
I want you to construe this from where we are coming from.
Yeah, I understand.
So this is good but not enough. That's
that's the point I'm making.
So for now, my inquiry is agree or disagree.
Agree.
So you are saying agree but do more.
Yes, agree.
Do you follow my logic? Yes. So he's not saying he disagrees. He says he agrees, but it's still not enough. So put an asterisk there. All right. So this is point 3. Ensure. Where am I? Oh, Charlie. Oh, AI. Stop that. Ensure parliamentary ratification of natural resource agreements. You agree? You agree, and you say you want more. Beyond. Go beyond.
Yes.
4, increase revenue allocation to affected communities.
Yes.
Both of you agree.
5 is a sad example of our goal.
5, strengthen environmental protection, including recognition of ecocide risks.
Agree. Fully.
Sorry. So this is also 5 over 5.
Yeah.
Now let's come to anti-corruption and accountability. 1, reform the Council of State to enhance independence and effectiveness.
I
have issues.
Okay,
we don't need the Council of State.
I believe that the current Council of State is not fit for purpose.
It should not exist.
I think we should scrap it. If we want to do something, if we go for an upper chamber, I'm all for it.
To be fair, this is a summary. So put an asterisk on this point, because both of you said Council of State needs to change.
I am not saying
it should go.
It should go.
Okay, they are saying it should be reformed.
So I disagree.
Okay, so let's put it.
So
Godfrey
disagrees. I'm disagreeing.
Sky agrees with an asterisk that he thinks there must be a specific kind of reform.
Yeah, I'm disagreeing.
Okay, so this is Sky correct with Star Akoto.
I think we should make it a second chamber for very good reason.
Number 2, under accountability, strengthen judicial appointment, tenure, and removal processes.
Agree, but again, I have issues with how presidential involvement in the appointment for me is a problem. And then also they argue that the reformed Council of State should have within it a role for determining matters of prima facie, putting the person on trial. I'm using the term loosely, and then determining what should happen going forward.
So put correct.
Even that I have issues with.
Sky agree with again a caveat. So it means that this one he will always have to explain with a footnote because of what he said specific. But at least he agrees the arrangement generally.
And then also what I want to say is that when it comes to appointment and removal of justices, I believe that Parliament should be given the opportunity to have a say.
So what I'm trying to say is that you will need a more detailed memorandum around point 2.
Yeah.
But you generally agree with the idea of strengthening it.
Yes. Yeah. And to make the point that we need to force consensus on whether we want to remove a judge or not.
Fair enough.
So that if we're making it to 1/3 or 3/4 of Parliament voting and determining that the person must go, it means that you've been able to build broad coalition around the subject.
So you are interested in the details of point 2.
Exactly.
So you agree insofar as the principle is the same, but the details have to be there. So put correct with the asterisk. Godfrey says what? You agree?
Which one?
Strengthen judicial appointment.
Yes. Okay.
I agree. 3, limit administrative powers of the CJ.
I agree.
Okay. 4, establish a constitutional anti-corruption and ethics commission.
I agree. What they are asking is, first of all, we should scrap the OSP, right? We should scrap it and merge it with a new institution which will be responsible
Disagree.
for. Wait, let me explain. Let me explain.
I understand it. Disagree.
So they want Siraj's
Disagree.
Okay.
No, but let him explain it.
Let me
explain it for the purpose of this.
You know, currently we have OSP, we have the Attorney General, and we have Siraj. Right? They are saying that when it comes to corruption, Siraj should have nothing to do with corruption fight, and that they should remove that responsibility, and then they should remove the AG's role in also prosecuting matters related to that space, and create a new office which will be in charge of prosecuting matters having to do with corruption and ethics related matters, and that office will have subsumed under or to sort of swallow the OSP currently in its shape and form. So the AG's role will be dealing with prosecution of criminal matters.
So I think it's a neat separation,
Exactly.
which also sort of strengthens the other institution away from AG.
And then makes it,
Because
gives
his
a
point that the current arrangement, there's OSP here, there's Siraj here, it's like small. Create a strong, independent institution.
for fighting corruption.
Then you also have AG.
Yes, which will be in charge of its regular mandate of prosecution, general crime,
So you're
and
not
then
convinced
also
by that?
Because
civil
You're not
because in
convinced by
principle, if you recall the first day we had a discussion about the OSP, I brought up examples of why we needed to adopt the South Africa-Kenya system of strengthening the DPP rather.
You did say that.
So for me, I am more of a fan of strengthening that particular office to deal with those things
Than to create
rather
another
than
caricature.
creating another caricature. So I disagree.
Fair enough.
I
So,
agree.
no, we can live with this.
I agree.
So let me be clear here. On the corruption, Reform Council of State, Akoto disagrees. He says scrap the whole thing. Sky says he agrees with an asterisk. 20 judicial appointment removal, everybody says they agree, but Sky with an asterisk. Limit administrative powers of CJ, everybody agrees. And establish a constitutional anti-corruption commission, Sky agrees, Akoto disagrees. So this one is a big one for disagreement. Sky has all four agree, but with two asterisks. Akoto agrees with just two.
Yes.
So you are very different on your approach to fighting corruption, which I appreciate. You are coming from a lawyer's perspective. You are coming from
A citizen's perspective.
a journalist, citizen, different
Perspective.
angle. Fair enough. Rights, inclusion, and social justice. One, expand protection for women, children, persons with disability, and minorities.
Agree.
Abolish the death penalty.
Agree.
Recognize rights to food, housing, health, and privacy.
Agree.
Address discrimination against dual citizens and foreign spouses.
That one, the web
Explain.
new ones. You see,
Explain for me.
I was just talking,
Agree.
I think, during the social media trends, that we currently have at least two of our citizens outside this country. We're seeking to bring them in, right, so that they can face justice. For some reason, it's proving difficult. Now, imagine a citizen of Ghana who is also a citizen of the US, or a citizen of Ghana who is also a citizen of, say, the UK, right?
They will use their
Who
UK side
we
to
insist we want to prosecute for a particular crime, and the people say that, well, we don't want our citizens subject. Look,
I get your point.
there is a reason why in other
I
countries
get your
they are very firm and strict on
For some
where
positions, you have to be a full
Exactly.
citizen because we don't want.
Exactly. Either it is written expressly in the law or in principle, you can't be a servant of two masters.
I think this is a very good case study. Sky, I'm with you on this. So, under address discrimination against dual citizens, even and foreign spouses. So is there a difference against foreign spouses? So, like, if you have a foreign spouse, can be president.
So yes, so there are.
So, like, Kofi Annan couldn't be a president because his wife was not Ghanaian.
No. Kofi Annan could be president, but the question is whether there are certain roles that can be assigned to, say, the wife. That thing stops the president from saying that I want my wife, if my wife is on the bench, to be the chief justice.
Or
of
my
the
husband,
Republic.
for that matter.
Oh yeah, or my husband. If my husband is on the bench, to be chief justice, if he's so qualified, right? But there are always all kinds of issues whether the person under the constitution,
Yeah.
being a citizen of another country, can serve on, say, the Supreme Court or some
But
other
by
court.
the way, I think the most powerful couple in Ghana is the CJ and his wife.
That's an issue.
Because he
One jails
he
you,
can
the other
commit you
one.
to, he can commit you to his wife's care. He said, so today, after I commit you to the care of the prisons, which is run by my wife.
So
Are you serious?
imagine if become president one day and your
wife is the head of
the judiciary
It will be serious.
or the
pal.
head of parliament.
Not that you appointed them. They are there by right of their way.
Interesting.
That's quite an interesting case study. So on this area, sorry, I've pressed something. Forgive me. So I am on rights and inclusion.
Yes.
Expanding protection for women with disability. You are all
Yeah,
correct.
I agree.
Abolish this penalty.
Agree.
Recognize the rights for food, housing, and health.
Agree.
Discrimination against dual citizens. Sky disagrees.
I agree.
You agree. So on this one, okay. When you finish, so tell you who disagrees or agrees more with the people. Let's go to decentralization and local governance.
Okay.
Create an independent devolution commission.
That's another establishment.
I disagree. I am all for
You
it.
once you don't understand, you disagree.
No, I understand.
I would agree.
I don't understand what.
I agree with the anesthetic.
But
It's an entirely new
I haven't read the
superstructure.
details. What do they want?
If I hear devolution, I understand exactly what.
But what do
they're
they mean
trying
by
to say.
independent devolution commission?
Exactly.
To properly deepen decentralization, as we've been talking about. Currently, we have the local government institute, and then there's one other institute.
Local government service.
Local government service. You understand? Now they want to put it on a proper footing, right? With an institution, an institution that will be able to actually enforce the specific requirements of the constitution.
Don't forget,
if amended.
don't forget we have a local governance, something coordinating commission or something.
Those are under the local government ministry.
No, there's a local government there's a local government the one that is
Or the one at the office of the president.
by
annex.
Gameli, yes.
Yeah, but those that's under the executive. But
So it's
this one
different
they
from
want
this
to
one.
create a commission, which will have a constitutional footing and will have the independence to do what
I
they are
could
proposing.
wrap my head around an agreement if this exists and there is no local government ministry.
Okay, do you know what we need to do? I think I personally need more information on this.
Oh,
so
you can
what
read
I can do is if you can either read more or later.
Let me read the.
Yes.
Yeah, because I'm still doing the
Yes,
exercise.
you go on.
So this one, Akoto doesn't agree. Sky agrees.
I agree, but with the nuance. Yes.
Good. 2, deepen political and fiscal decentralization.
Yes.
Yes.
Everybody agrees.
We agree.
Review the election and tenure of MMDCEs.
Yes.
Agree. Correct.
But again, there are issues with some of the proposals they make as to how some of them should be elected and related.
But you agree generally.
Yes, generally, I think.
Strengthen local governance. Sorry.
The only
Scott,
problem
but
I
you-
have,
Still on point
which
here,
I've
right?
articulated, is that I don't believe that electing people produce the right sort of or produces the right.
So
sort
your
of
point
people.
is that, but yeah, okay. Let me not complicate. I'm saying review the election and tenure of MMDCs.
Okay, yes. Generally, in
agree.
principle, yes.
Good. 4, strengthen local revenue generation and accountability.
Yes, I agree.
So on point decentralization, both you disagree on the independent devolution commission.
Yes, that's what I disagree on.
But you agree with everything else.
I agree with everything
Sky
else.
agrees with that, but has an asterisk on the review of election of MMDCs. Let's go security and stability. There are just 3 points there.
Yeah.
Create independent oversight for security services.
Agree. Agree.
Hey, the LBO was over me.
Yes.
Clarify civilian control and deployment rules.
Agree.
Strengthen tenure protection for security leadership.
Agree.
Wonderful. Now, a living constitution. This is the last area. Introduce mechanisms for easier constitutional amendment through popular initiative.
You see, there are a number of issues there. They talk about private
disagree.
citizens of Ghana initiating the process of amending the constitution, collecting as much signatures as possible. I think they talk about 5% or so of the voting population, if my memory serves me correctly. And then on the basis of that, submission to Parliament, and then the process will kick in, right? You see, I don't think that it should be easy to be amending the constitution just like that. I agree in principle that the people of Ghana should have the liberty as and when necessary to say that we want to change a particular thing because it's no longer relevant or it's outlived its usefulness. But you see, certainty of the law in the sense of ensuring that the fundamental law of the land is not easily amended like that is important, right? Politicians serving their own interests go and call their people together, just like how petitions are filed for removal of people. Get your people in line.
So you think that we shouldn't make it too easy?
Yeah, that's right. I mean,
Anyway.
and then also,
So you don't agree?
yes, I have serious difficulties with that proposal.
Akoto, do you agree? Introduce a mechanisms for easier constitutional amendment through popular initiative.
I agree.
Good.
I disagree.
Address constitutional rigidity and obsolete provisions.
Agree. You see, he's a lawyer.
Yeah, that I have issues with that. Certainty
exactly.
of the law for me is a very big
So I
matter.
think on this point, your law and his civic advocacy are very clear. He is more liberal. He wants more power for the people. You
Give it
think
to us.
we should be careful in tweaking well-established norms.
Yeah.
Because of So it's because of our training. We have different trainings.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me summarize.
In other words, the people don't always know better.
I get you. So your training makes you different.
Yesterday
we appreciate this. So now what we've done is that we've grouped the proposal into executive and presidency is 1, parliament representing democracy is 2, political parties and elections is 3, electoral commission and independent bodies is 4, national development and public finance is 5, lands and natural resources 6, accountability and anti-corruption 7, public service and governance 8, rights, inclusion and social justice 9, decentralization and local governance 10, security and stability 11, and living constitution 12. So what we've done is that we've broken down the 179-page document into 12 bullet points. Now, those 12 bullet points I haven't calculated, but about 100 and something proposals. Count it for me. Then we'll now summarize how many the two agree with, how many the two disagree with.
Okay, while you do
I'm coming. Let me repeat. So there are 12. So there are 12 subheadings with, is it 55?
Yes, 55.
With 55 specific proposals. Of the 55,
per your summary.
Per my summary, Sky agrees with 48 and disagrees with 7. Akoto agrees with 47 and disagrees with 8. Let's go through this again. Are you sure there are 55?
Yeah, 55.
So we, based on our summary, which I did with the help of Apia Adomako, he sent me his summary of the 127 page document into 12 subheadings with 55 specific proposals. Sky agrees with 48 of the 57 and disagrees with 7. Akoto agrees with 47 and disagrees with the 8. Now let's do something. 47 over 58 for 55 as a percentage. So use your calculator. I'm just calculating something. All right. And listeners, this is just an exercise back of the envelope to just see generally the sentiment of my panel on the work of the committee without a thorough reading of the nuances. Okay. So Sky agrees with what? 47. Is it 48?
48.
So Sky agrees with 48 out of 55. So Sky agrees with 87% of the proposals, of course with some asterisks. And Akoto is 47 over 55, 85%. So at the end of the back of the envelope review, Mr. Sky agrees with 87% of the proposals of the Kwesi Prempeh committee. Akoto agrees with 85%. And I also think Sky and Akoto agree largely on everything else except anti-corruption and the process of constitutional review, which I believe is because of their different lines of development and their independence of thought. But generally, you are very similar in what you aspire for the country. And I think that's very good. If Kakra were here today, it would have given us a different nuance. Kakra is absent today.
Yeah.
So I want to say something that it appears to me that the bigger hurdle we face is not the content of the review, it's the process of review.
Yeah.
Which I think requires a full discussion. Because out as a program the CRC organized, where if you look at the way the Constitution contemplates amendment, they've made it very difficult and very, very opaque.
Yeah.
So there's no clarity on the process as to whether this one requires one referendum or multiple referenda, whether it must be national in character and at what times. It's very difficult. So I think the big work now ahead of all of us, because if we agree on 85% of the proposals, it means that as a country, we all know what we want to change.
Yeah.
The problem is whether we agree on the how to do it. So I think that the question for the Kwesi Prempeh committee and the president and everybody else is, if 4 out of 5 of the recommendations we all think are good, do we also agree on 4 out of 5 of the procedure? Because the procedure could be the problem for us. You get it? So let me take your 2 concluding comments.
Well,
Yeah.
for me,
this
quickly,
is-
and just this is where we for me, it's not just about the process. You know, there's a very hard task at hand. The NCC, Catalan people,
Yeah, that's right. NCC.
they have a lot of work to do. You see, because people must understand what is coming and the process. We would also need the political parties, particularly the elephant and the umbrella. This is where we need them to put to good use, in the national interest, the full power of their machinery, because they are very good at educating their members and explaining things to their members.
I'm not so sure about that.
Propagating.
I'm just saying, that is why I said in the national interest, if they are able to take this on board, explaining these recommendations and the processes around it might be easier. The NCC can also guide this so that the propagation and the propaganda can also be reduced, and the misinformation and disinformation can be reduced. But I think now the bigger work is on us, the media, the NCC, and the political parties, to spread these recommendations ahead of what is to come. For me, that is the only thing I have to say on this.
Do you agree with me that the content discussion must be separated from the process discussion?
I agree, but I depart on the basis that, you see, you can have a group of people go and investigate and come up with recommendations as to what should be done. That let's change A, B, C, and D, right? You, the person who commissioned them, right? When it comes to implementation, there can always be a way of feeding your own views into what ultimately gets to the people of Ghana for a decision to be made. Because what they have put out is not binding on the president or the government as to what they should take to the people and say that, okay, the committee said so, and so, therefore we are putting it before you, just serving as a conveyor belt. No, they can always say that, okay, maybe they disagree with maybe the 5-year thing, or they want to make it 6 years, or they want to make it 10 years. And that is the proposal that reaches the people. I'm saying that with those dangers in mind, it is important that the shape and form of how we actually carry out and what we agree on, the process has to be properly distilled, so that we are sure that, okay, everybody is largely on board as to what questions to read the Ghanaian people. Because if we do not agree and maybe numbers get to push things around, what it will mean is that what ultimately get to the Ghanaian will be some way.
You agree with me then?
And there will be a problem
You
with
agree
it.
with me? So you are saying that beyond saying we all agree on 85% of the proposals, the way and manner the executive and the process owners go about, the way and manner they interpret the so-called proposal.
Yeah, or what they add or what they do not add, or what
And
they take
then
from it.
choose to even go ahead to do it is something we should keep an eye on. Fine. So at least we can commend HKP and his team for simplifying what would have been a complicated process. Because for me, to be honest, the Fiajo work was very big, 1,000 pages. And to be fair, this one was riding on previous works done, so they had to make it more succinct. And he also explained that this is different from a commission. Because it was a committee, it was not the same laborious white paper kind of process, which I think is also better, because the white paper one was like, the government can pick and choose what it wants or does not want.
Because
this one is this is a better approach, which sort of agrees that we've done this work for the past 10 years and want to move forward. So I think that the president also said yesterday that he wants a bipartisan approach to implementation. Let's hope they stick to that, because one of the biggest problems you have in Ghana is that when a new government comes, they don't trust the process. So if, despite the large majority of this government, the words of the president around bipartisanship in approach is used, and the recognition that Chiemesa had done some work, Fiajo had done some work, and Kwesi Prempeh put everything together, so everybody has a role to play. Because I feel like if Sky and Akoto, they don't agree on a lot of things, if they can agree on 85%, if they can
know them better.
Yes, if they can agree on 85% of, they agree on it, disagree on it. I was shocked that these two guys agree on, which means that generally, because they represent two views, I think he is a bit more conservative, he's a bit more liberal, generally. Because of his training, he likes to protect institutions. He doesn't like you to be tweaking with things. This guy is like freedom for the world. Let's move to the world.
He's a social person.
But to think that the two of them agree on 85% of the proposals. And I also don't think you disagree, Larry Dogbe, on a lot of the proposals. So I think the real task is whether we trust the people leading the process. And whether the people would use a transparent and open approach, just like this committee have done. Okay. Also, I want to hear from the minority. I want to hear what they have to say about this. Because for me, their buy-in is very critical.
Yeah, and then I just want
if the minority leader comes out to say, we've seen what HKP has put out, and for now, we agree with a lot of the things proposed, and we want to be part of an implementation process that will give me comfort.
Have you gone through the list of the people who were spoken to? I saw Afenyo Markins in there.
Yeah,
I saw President Kufuor in there. I saw President Akufo-Addo also in there. I think that the committee should just go beyond submitting this report just to the president and serve these individuals with copies as well.
Very important.
Out of that, we can now seek their views as to
what they are seeing.
Yes, what they are saying, whether they agree with it, because they spoke to them actually.
Exactly. That's a good point. So, like, present it. I think that's a very important point. Present it to some of the key people.
Yeah.
And then let's hear preliminarily
Yeah.
whether what they are reading largely agrees with what they were hoping to see. As a first step.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then
Well,
from there we can say, how will the implementation work be done?
Yeah.
And who must be involved in implementation?
Yeah.
Sky?
well, I agree in principle with getting their comments on the outcome. It becomes impossible and unwieldy if you are having to reach out to every person who submitted a paper, because they relied on in excess of
No,
700.
he's talking about key people.
No, I understand.
For example, don't forget,
And these are
he's
partisan
saying
people.
former presidents, minority leader.
Yeah.
He's talking about people whose, you see, we all have, they can talk to anybody. And minority leader is a very important person in our democratic dispensation.
Yeah, but he doesn't.
The former
operate in
president
vacuum.
of the country is very important because their views are strong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
If you, so that's why even in the Fiajo committee, they spoke to all the living former presidents. So for me, a former president, a living president,
Yeah.
and they are key guys.
The point I'm making is that, Bernard, you see, all of these people express their views.
Yeah.
And the committee sort of distilled from their views what they understood them to be saying,
Correct.
what they agreed with and what they rejected, and ultimately formed recommendations out of that. What it means is that many of their findings, or some of them, will be at odds with what was proposed by, say, John Kufuor, or maybe the minority leader, or maybe majority leader, as the case may be. The point I'm making is that at the end of the day, it is the committee that has determined that, based on their assessment and everything they have considered, and learning from other democracies, they have come to these conclusions. And these conclusions will not fully agree with what some people proposed. You understand? So getting back to them and asking for their comments, while I agree in principle, would have its own difficulties.
No, I get it. Yeah. But he's talking more about the process. You see, we are saying that we want certain specific individuals and entities to buy into the process.
But should
I'm coming. The first step is to recognize their role by presenting a copy to them. Then,
which I'm sure maybe they are all
you should. Then you should take their preliminary. When I say preliminary comments, what you've done is preliminary, because if I actually went on a 127 page,
take it apart.
you would have had a lot. Luckily, we had a 55 proposal summary, 12 chapters. Very easy for you to do in 20 minutes. I still think everybody can do that. You know, and that's a very important exercise, because if the whole country generally, based on media feedback, agrees with 80% of the proposals, that's progress. Because don't forget, there are constitutional thresholds for even referenda. For example, you need a certain percentage of people to vote, and you need a certain percentage to say yes. So this back on everything I've done, where these two guys agree on 85%, assuming these were the representation of Ghanaian views, it could mean that Ghanaians could vote 85% yes. Because you need to pass the 75% mark.
Acceptance.
Do you understand me? So it's very important to do that exercise for different groups, so we can say, generally, when we went around the country to ask them what they think about what we presented, they agree with 80% of what we said. If we find a way of putting those 80% issues to a referendum, do you understand? It's possible that if we get the minimum threshold of voters, then we could also get the 80%. If they were arguing today over the thing that I put out, then we have a big problem. So I think that the committee can say that preliminarily, the reception, and Edmund also said that when he looks at social media, generally people agree with the outcome, even though they are discussing other things. I think that the media should spend a bit more time letting people know what the proposals are and getting their feedback on it. And I think the committee should listen to those programs very carefully, and then try and see whether there's room for adjustment, or whether there's room for tweaking the way they go about it. Because if the public don't understand it, they're not going to turn up to vote for it.
I just want to add something quickly. You see, we should also be very careful of the echo chamber problem, right? We maybe because of what we read, who we speak to, where we have been, things we have seen, would tend to align with what might seem to be an elitist view of what the modern constitution should look like.
It's true.
Right? The question of whether someone on the ground properly is calibrated to understand what we are saying and whether he agrees with it and that agrees with his aspirations for Ghana is an entirely different matter.
Is that not why
and I want to add something.
Is that not why yesterday you put Plato?
Yeah, that's what
So
no, I understand.
Yesterday you said to me that Plato's view on democracy was that at some point as people need a certain caliber of preparation and knowledge and training to make decisions for the citizens.
I agree with that.
So if that is true for voting, that can also be true for constitution.
No, you see, what I'm the point I'm making
So
doesn't it doesn't dismiss that point. What I'm making is at the end of the day we are running a democracy.
We should be careful.
Yes, we are running a democracy.
Yeah.
So we should not sit here in Accra and assume that merely because we seem to know better.
Yeah, but the people didn't sit
that
in Accra.
should
They went everywhere to ask people before they wrote the report.
No, but
so
you
they
see,
didn't
that's-
sit in Accra and write the report. They
They
traveled around the country.
they appreciated the commonest.
Sky,
you
no,
know,
but let's be fair. They did not.
this.
Hold on,
They
Bernard.
did not
Yeah.
go.
No, my comment is much more nuanced than that.
Explain it,
because the report we have doesn't give us a data of, okay, we received 700 people, right? 700 submissions. Out of the 700, 50 of them proposed A, B, C, D. 30 proposed D. They came
The
from these.
Atukuba one did that.
You see,
The Atukuba one had that much detail.
without
the
seeing,
1,000-page one.
I'm not assuming that they did not do it.
Okay.
We are just seeing the recommendations in the concise form. What I'm saying is that without seeing that data and disaggregating it, and to be sure that, okay, their views generally align with what the people have said around the country.
That's the exercise we will do as media.
It is.
That's
it is also
why.
difficult.
That's where the media becomes crucial.
And then one more point. Forgive
Yeah.
me. You see, I think that we still keep making proposals for changes to the constitution without backing it with hard data.
Okay.
In the sense of, we have analyzed the work of the Ages Department over the last 30-something years, right? How many cases did they receive? How many cases did they successfully prosecute?
Evidence-based proposals.
In disaggregating the numbers, what were the key findings based on hard data, regression run?
Out of
As
which
to-
then we then propose.
Then on the basis of that, say that we have been able to run a model that tells us that if we make this change, we can say with a certain degree of certainty that it will most likely result in this outcome.
That's an interesting point. actually.
We still basically say, oh, let's change it this way, let's change it that way. If we are not careful, we'll make changes. But once human beings are in charge and driven by their own interests and their kotokuma,
All right.
they do their own
We'll
thing.
take a short break. Thank you. That was a back of the envelope analysis of the Constitution Review.